Located on the Iberian Peninsula in southwestern Europe, Portugal is home to a diversity of wild animals such as foxes, wolves, lynx, red fallow and roe deer. Like every other place, Portugal's wildlife suffered at the hands of humans for a long time, but is slowly coming back to better numbers due to conservation and reintroduction efforts. Species like the Iberian lynx, the osprey and the red deer have already been reintroduced in the wild, and now rewilding Portugal is bringing back wild horses.
So Rewilding Portugal is an ecosystem restoration NGO that was formed in 2019, and when we started working in the Greater Coa Valley, and it is the local partner of Rewilding Europe, and we've been working together ever since. So when we started to work in 2019, we started to implement a project that is funded by a Natural Landscapes program that aims to make the Coa Valley a wilder place. Buying pieces of land to promote more abundance of wildlife and more natural process. So in these properties we bought, one of the first things we did is to reintroduce the large herbivores in the form of wild horses. And we did that so in the beginning, and we're still implementing with more herds in more areas in order for them to grow and to become more wilder. So our experience with the horses is relatively short, but even though right after we reintroduced the large grazer, the wild horses into the ecosystem, we start to witness the change. And also we're measuring by testing that intervention, and we've seen that areas with and without the horses, where they were present, they were more abundant in diversity of plants and also insects, as well as carbon in the soil. But one thing that struck us about their effect on the landscape was the relationship with the smaller grazers, and grazers that are very important for the Mediterranean ecosystem, such as the rabbit and the partridge. And we've seen that those two species, with the presence of the horses, increase in abundance, but also their behavior change. They are much more present where the horses roam more frequently, because that's the role of the large grazers, to facilitate habitat for these smaller species and also to facilitate some protection for these species. So in the overall, the effect was immediate, to see that we're more diverse in a number of species, but also in the behavior of other species, and that's something that was very clear right from the start.
Sou Gonçalo Matos, sou o gestor de manadas da Rewilding Portugal. Nós neste momento temos duas manadas de cavalo-sorraias. Uma está situada aqui onde nós estamos, que é o Val Carapito, que fica na aldeia de Vila Maior. Então nós escolhemos a raça sorraia, não propriamente porque, apesar do que muita gente diz, porque é um animal que estava em vias de extinção e tinha poucos indivíduos. Essa é uma das razões, porque estamos a fazer um trabalho por uma raça muito importante portuguesa, mas a principal razão foi que é o cavalo que está mais próximo das raças portuguesas, é o cavalo que está mais próximo do cavalo selvagem, dos primeiros cavalos. É o cavalo que é desenhado nas gravuras aqui do COA, que é onde nós estamos a trabalhar, neste projeto do Greater Coa Valley. As próprias gravuras destacam muitas zebruras, até aos joelhos e até mais altas, que é uma coisa que se destaca nos sorraias em si, o que mostra demasiada proximidade com os seus ancestrais.
Hello, I'm Miguel Pontes. I'm part of the surveillance team for Rewilding Portugal. One of the main threats we face is poaching, illegal hunting. So we spend most of the time traveling forest roads looking for snares or illegal traps that can disturb the existence of the Iberian wolf and other species.
Camera traps help monitoring the fauna, but rewilding also helps and monitors plant species and their locations and do soil analysis to find out about the actual impact of the horse's presence. The future release of other large herbivores and eventually leaving them to be fully wild will help predators like the Iberian wolf, one of the more endangered native keystone species. The wolf's population in Portugal is fragmented and in a lot of difficulty, mainly due to the persecution they faced because, as humans took out their habitat and their natural prey, wolves had to survive by hunting livestock, and that caused conflicts between these animals and the farmers. Rewilding Portugal is fixing this by partnering up with breeders of Portuguese livestock guardian dogs to give them to farmers who live in regions with wolves. Gonçalo is not only the herd's manager at Rewilding, but also a cattle owner living in a region with the presence of wolves. So he was one of the people who got a guardian dog named Hati to protect his cows, and it's proving to be very successful. Another organization who is working towards helping the Iberian wolf by using livestock guardian dogs to protect domestic herbivores and therefore reducing the conflicts is the group Lobo, meaning wolf group, and they also have an Iberian Wolf Recovery Center, which is a sanctuary for wolves that can't live in the wild anymore.
The wolf is a protected species since 1989. Before that, the wolf was persecuted. You were able to hunt wolves in the wild until the 1920s. The wolf was present throughout continental Portugal, so from the north to the south, even to the Algarve. And from the 1920s onwards, with the increase in human population, also the increase in farming, the changes in the landscape, the wolf started to disappear, especially from the littoral area and then from the south of Portugal. We are a sanctuary, so the objective is to provide the resident wolves with an environment where they can live with similar conditions to their habitats in the wild. So here in the sanctuary we try to mimic as much as possible their habitat and how they live. So we have plenty of vegetation inside the enclosure so they are able to hide when they don't want to be observed. So it can be very difficult to observe these wolves even though they are in captivity.
The reintroduction of the horses into the ecosystems has already proven to be positive for the restoration of the habitats, and Rewilding is already planning on releasing more large herbivores, but with this boost of wildlife, carnivores will be necessary in order to maintain the balance, as predators control the herbivores' numbers and keep them on the move so they won't overgraze the same area. In Portugal, it's not allowed to manage the wolves' population in any way, so it's not permitted to kill them, but it's also not permitted to reintroduce more individuals to the fragmented packs. Therefore, the hope for these animals is in raising awareness about their importance and reducing negative attitudes towards them, while also increasing their prey density and, in the future, hope to have a better coexistence between humans and wildlife.